Hello and welcome to Crypto TV. This is Manoj Dara, and joining with me is my co-host Parvati Nirban.
Yeah, hi, welcome to Crypto TV, and today I just got to know that we are going to discuss about blockchain technology and especially the trust and services that blockchain industry can bring. But I'm absolutely unaware that what exactly we are going to discuss in it. So I thought, why not I discuss the same thing with
Absolutely,
Manoj?
Parvati. So today's discussion is all about what all innovations are there done by in the blockchain space. And for this special panel discussion, we have invited two gentlemen, which I will be introducing in a short while.
Right.
So today we will discuss about how blockchain can bring revolution in the banking space going forward. How this microfinance sector will benefit if they implement this blockchain technology, and how we can prevent frauds. And for this, let us cut across to our guest. So our first guest is Mr. Sudhin Barorkar, Global IT and Innovation Advisor from the world of SBI, Barclays, IBM and GE. Sudhin, welcome to the show. And our second guest is Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Chief Innovation Officer at DCB Bank and founder of India's Blockchain Forum. Prasanna, welcome to the show as well. So Sudhin sir, my first question to you is, what are the emerging blockchain innovations, if you can just take us through? And today's discussion is about, how blockchain will impact our lives in 2022 and going forward as well. How, by adopting blockchain, one can benefit, how governments will benefit, how the microfinance sector will benefit. If you can just begin with, sir.
Sure. Blockchain is a weapon of mass innovation, and today it's being implemented across a lot of the new innovations in terms of CBDC, central bank, digital currency, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, DeFi, which is decentralized finance,
right,
digital payments, RegTech, which is a very big emerging field in terms of risk management, regulatory tech, SupTech, which is supervisory tech,
perfect,
and LegTech, which is legal tech. So this is a massive innovation ecosystem being built. And it will be in 22, I think this year, there will be massive adoptions across several use cases.
Fantastic. So Prasanna, I've picked up three key words. First one is RegTech, SupTech, and LegTech. If you can just highlight them, how this will change and transform our lives going forward.
Yeah, I think thank you, Manoj, for inviting me here, and good to see our friend Sudhin also on the panel. And I do support Sudhin's view around blockchain is going to change RegTech, EdTech, legal tech industry, right? In layman's language, what we have seen, right, the papers are being replaced by databases.
Right.
And the databases will be replaced by smart databases, which will be governed by blockchain.
All right.
Right. So when you look at the whole ecosystem, RegTech and how legal tech happens, lot of paperwork, lot of operations done by man in between. I think this will be do away with the blockchain kind of a technology. Yeah.
Sure.
As I understand that this comes from a financial sector and you come from the same background and this was very knowledge enhancing.
Right.
I already want to know, like, what are the successful implementation of blockchain, like what already has been implemented and
sure,
being successful about it?
So Sudhin sir, if you can just answer that, to begin with, what are, as Parvati was pointing out, what is the successful blockchain implementation? If there is any use cases, this is what the main intention is, right?
Correct. Yeah, use cases and which are already being implemented. So we understand that how blockchain is taking over the other parts of the technology.
So just to give you a background and history as to why we're using blockchain and why is it very important for digital transformation, which is being today adopted by everybody, whether it be large banks or large enterprises or even startups or even mid-sized organizations. So we work in the bank in two ways. We run the bank and change the bank. In 2017, I benchmarked our State Bank of India as head of innovation that time. I benchmarked our core banking systems at 24,000 transactions per second.
Fantastic.
Approximately 1.5 billion transactions a day to cover 500 million plus accounts and 700 million plus customers. This is the most advanced, powerful, state-of-the-art core banking system in the world, developed in India by Indian technologists.
Fantastic.
So that's running the bank. And today you can see that the bank systems run perfectly, whether it's State Bank of India or DCB Bank or ICICI Bank or whichever bank. You could see that even during the lockdown, everything works perfectly. These are mission critical systems, extremely important. Just imagine if billions of our citizens cannot get access to banking. It's like oxygen. Now, on the chain side, when we want to do the digital transformation, that is the time when we get these emerging and hype technologies like blockchain. Why? Because there is a platform shelf life for all our financial platforms, for our transaction platforms, for our audit platforms, for our trust as a service platforms, for our risk management platforms. That's where blockchain comes in. And one of the biggest advantages of implementing blockchain is that the base of blockchain are cryptographic functions. The protocol is TCP/IP, and this has been used since the days of the mainframes, right? 60s, 70s. So we're not changing the fundamental tech stack behind blockchain. What we're doing is that we are using blockchain, more importantly, to increase the trust and the settlement kind of system, to make it at a level which is faster, far better, so that the entire throughput of our systems, our engagement with our customers. So when we have these massive system of records, I mean, imagine the kind of data that we have with 700 million accounts, right? Phenomenal. Now, with that system of record, we have to engage, right? Why do people come to banks? I mean, State Bank of India is more than 215 years old. Barclays, my earlier bank, is more than 340 years old. Right? I don't know about DCB, but DCB must be relatively younger. But these banks are investing in these technologies so that the future of fintech, the future of banking can be reshaped, and so that the customer gets the best service at the lowest cost.
Super, fantastic. Prasanna, the most important number which I have picked with what Sudhin sir was highlighting about SBI is 1 billion transactions. And you also belong to DCB Bank and from the financial sector as well. If you can just take us through the key blockchain and implementation of blockchain, how it is going to change the way banks are functioning and will function going forward as well.
Yeah, so Manoj, I think we have seen that journey like since 2017 along with the Sudhin guidance, the bank chain, right? So which was a consortium of 36 entities, banks, tech service providers, and so on. That has given a momentum in India. How do we really build the blockchain use cases for banks? Today, we could see the top 10 banks like Citibanks or HSBC, JP Morgan are investing into blockchain and crypto kind of a company. We could see that Visa, Mastercard are investing a lot and researching around how blockchain can really surpass their operational overheads. Right. NPCI in India has built a system called as a Vajra, and on top of that, they are building another layer in Vajra, which can amalgam with the ecosystem like account aggregator or ecosystem like Aadhaar and so on. Going forward, I think banks will build a lot of operational less processes with the help of blockchain. Example, Manoj is doing some transaction on a point of sale or an ATM. Typically, this transaction undergoes through many entities, right? So there are intermediate servers, there are remitter servers, and at the end of the day, it takes a lot of operational efforts. And money is received by the merchant where transaction happening, which typically happens next day or sometimes next to next day. And this whole process is a cumbersome, a lot of overheads, disputes, something goes wrong, customer will call to the contact center. Blockchain comes and says, I will remove all these complications,
barriers and complications, right?
And bring the more customer experience with a better friction. So if you want to automate all the banking processes, I think blockchain and the other subsidiary technology will be helpful. So if you talk about use cases, trade finance, cross-border payment, tomorrow's currency, right? There are many more use cases we can talk. Fantastic. Eventually, almost all banking next 10 years will be supported by blockchain. That's what I see. Yeah.
So Sudhin sir, next 10 years is going to be, the sector which we are talking about the banks. Going forward, what do you think, sir? How blockchain, will help in preventing frauds from an India perspective? So if we are talking about, frauds, I would like to, share some numbers with you. India saw more banking frauds in the first half of FY22, which is roughly around 36,000 crores, which is, although it is a 50%, the amount is 50% less. So this is not the number which, we are sharing it. It's coming from the RBI.
No, absolutely. Very good insight. In fact, I can share the number as well coming from such big banks. In 2019, the total amount of fraud in the Indian banking system, that is money lost by banks and money lost by our customers, was a whopping 1,87,000 crore.
Perfect.
More than, well, more than, $20 billion, $25 billion.
Right, sir.
My view, not the bank's view, is that money recovered can be at least given to the people who actually need the money, right? It's a massive amount of money.
Correct.
Right? So what we did, in fact, we took all these use cases. So in 2017, along with Prasanna from DCB Bank, so I was that time as head of State Bank of India, we called 30 plus banks and 10 technology partners to our State Bank of India Global IT Center headquarters in Navi Mumbai, CBD. And we called them for lunch. They like the lunch. I like the lunch. We all like the lunch. And I just told them two things. Let's shed our ecosystem. Let's work in an ecosystem. And no bank is big or small. We are all in it together. So let's pool our various resources. Let's get our SMEs. Let's get our experts. Let's start building up the competencies. And along with that, what we did is we implemented several blockchain-based solutions. So, for example, we did a remittance between the State Bank of India and that's the Nariman Point Mumbai branch and the State Bank of India Kathmandu Nepal branch. This was luckily a rupee inward remittance, so that we didn't have to have the complexities of the FEMA and FERA laws, because in terms of inward rupee remittance, Nepal and Bahrain are the countries where we don't need to seek further permission from the RBI or align to the FEMA FERA anymore. But so we could do that, and the entire transaction, which used to take probably 3 to 5 days, we could do it in 15 minutes. Fantastic. All just by technology, right? So imagine why should a customer or a bank have his money held for 3 to 5 days?
Perfect.
Yeah, correct. And that's possible because of the blockchain technology.
Absolutely. Yeah. And along with the remittance, where we used IBM Hyperledger Fabric, and we worked with our partner vendors, and we got this done.
Correct.
We also generated a smart contract. So there was a very good GRC, a governance risk compliance audit for that payment transaction. Because tomorrow we have to make sure that whatever is a global remittance, inward, outward, must be backed up by the proper compliance and audit. Imagine the size of the bank and the size of payments that come across. So this is paving the way, not just to reduce the time it takes to quicken the settlement time, but also I have seen that from my experience, and even Prasanna will agree, that going digital using these emerging technologies like blockchain actually is improving our overall governance, risk, and compliance.
Sure.
Now we exactly know the time, we know the timestamp, we have the smart contract readily available in case we have to report it out, right? So Prasanna, maybe you can share about some of your experiences.
So very important insight what Sudhir sir had mentioned. He has given a number, Prasanna, is 1.85 trillion INR. So this is the number, according to the survey which is showed by the retail banking, as per the cyber frauds that are happening in FY20, if I'm not wrong, sir.
Yeah, this is cyber fraud plus loan originating settlement fraud, loan originating system, core banking fraud, mobile application fraud, everything put together.
All right. Prasanna, what's your view on this?
Yeah, I think I do agree. So blockchain is a foundational technology, is not a transformation technology. What does it mean? Like the way we have seen internet is a foundation technology, and it has created lot many business model, lot many systems in front of us for our customers, for us, right? Now there are some gaps in the current system, the way Sudhir was talking about, right? And these gaps are fundamentally called as a frauds, or we called as a operational efforts, and so on. So blockchain comes and keep a lock that these frauds will never happen, right? Imagine that the frauds which are network-based, or manual frauds, or some cybersecurity frauds because you are accessing some email, frauds because you are inserting something as a USB into your system. So blockchain comes and keep that, it acts as a doorkeeper for every system.
Fantastic.
Right? That's how inherently these frauds will be reduced. And even if frauds are happening in current systems, it gives another level of challenge, right? So why it should happen, right? It will never happen. So that's how the blockchain is a foundational technology. It's not like a transformation technology comes and work with the existing ones. It comes and removes all those gaps in the ecosystem.
Yeah. So, Mr. Lohar, as you just mentioned about the smart contracts and the time stamping, and because of which we can actually prevent the fraud in the system using the blockchain technology. So, this will be a systematic prevention of the fraud, or there will be more key aspect that we should look into it?
Yeah, so I will explain with the help of one example, right? So every bank or every organization has its own network, right? And this network is safeguarded by the web application firewalls or external firewalls, internal firewalls. So today, there are a lot of rules are being created, or IP address translation happens on the firewall, so that incoming requests coming from your partners, customers on your website will be translated, and will be those services will be provided back to the customers. Tomorrow, blockchain comes and adds one more layer and gives a challenge to every request which is coming in, and every trusted request will be authored. Every trusted authentication will be authored, or every some kind of a fraud or malware or escape injection kind of a request will not be authored. What does it mean? It means that blockchain comes and acts as a doorkeeper, right? This kind of a ecosystem. Now, within the organization also, we can create adoption of a blockchain, right?
Sure.
Where manual work is happening, right? Where we can do with so in a nutshell, it comes and cleans it up, right?
Right.
Rather than issues are one fraud we are removing, it will not happen. Moreover, how we can build it? Say example, today the way we are working on our fraud risk management tool, right? And which is adaptive authentication tool. So these are the RBI's recommendations for a security control, right? So today we are creating customer 360-degree view, and this view will be aligned with the blockchain. What does it mean? We know customer A requesting from a city in India, automatically suppose requesting a transaction from Russia or somewhere, it is a fraud, right? And then we are blocking those kind of frauds in a central repository, which can be utilized by other banks or other regulatory entities, right? So that's how we can see how process can be strengthened to mitigate those frauds or to investigate the frauds and so on. Yeah.
So as we are talking about frauds and the frauds in the ecosystem and how blockchain technology can improve this, Sudhin sir, my next question to you is, according to Deloitte India, frauds are going to increase from here on. So for the next 2 years as well. So this is something which Deloitte is saying, and they call it as pandemic-induced digital adoption. So how are you going to explain this to our viewers?
So yes, I do agree that fraud is going to increase because of the level of financial transactions, the level of lending, the level of universal basic income schemes, the level of direct transfer benefits. So the entire financial system today is going to expand, right?
Right.
Even globally, we have seen that after the last global financial crisis in 2008, there was QE1, QE2, and then we could see that during the COVID, now there is QEX, right? So the central banks and the authorities just flooded the entire global markets to give help to the citizens with a whole lot of money, right? So the assets globally have quadrupled, have tripled to quadrupled. They're now more than $500 trillion plus assets in the world today, right? So this is massive. So I think the where blockchain really comes in is that, look at the example wherein one of these PSU banks, about 3 or 4 years back, lent to a diamond merchant, right?
Yeah.
And they lent a lot of money,
and
right?
Rest is the history.
Since 2012, right? They have been lending that money through a single branch. I don't know how that happened, but they kept these transactions offline. So the core banking system could not, have a list of these transactions. Now, what happened is that this borrower took a LOU from that particular bank, a letter of undertaking or a guarantee, and then went to other 10 banks and also got more money, right? And as a result, it was complete fraud because that LOU is just a piece of paper. And now the banks have to audit all this since 2012. But what happens in blockchain if all these transactions on the blockchain,
on the system,
right? We build first of all what is the Genesis block or the Genesis block, that is block 0, and then we add the different nodes. In case of a private blockchain, there will be the 10 or 20 banks, right? It's a private blockchain, so only those banks will be pure B2B. Only those banks will be having the permission to see other data and other transactions of other banks.
Fantastic.
Right? And in an audit perspective, now today, if you have to do a 9-year audit, right, and that too transactions around the core banking, like physical papers or some booklets or some ledgers or somewhere, it's going to take a hell of a lot of years. In fact, I've not even heard back where that audit is, what has happened to the audit, and when are they going to complete their audit, right? After so many years, I've still not heard of it.
That's the reason why, sir, it is still stuck.
So, but in blockchain, if they use blockchain, I think they should start using blockchain immediately, because once I create that Genesis block or block 0 and keep adding all the different blocks, the transactions of the different blocks, and let's say I go to 1 million transactions, to audit from block 0 to the millionth block just takes me 15 minutes. That's all.
Fantastic. So Prasanna, as Sudhin sir was highlighting about a letter of credit thing, which happened with a diamond merchant, and roughly around 10,000 crores are still to be recovered in the, the banks have to recover from him. But is there other examples you can just highlight, how if they would have adopted blockchain would have changed the way the system is working as of now?
Yeah, so Manoj, I think fundamentally you have to look at how blockchain is going to change operations or business processes and so on. Primarily, whenever there are more than two systems interacting with each other, or if you want to see how the data is stored and there should not be any data thefts, or how do you have a better data integrity. Third thing is like, how are you talking to your partners through your systems and how these integrations are happening. And in all these systems, these systems which are at branch, internet banking, mobile banking, ATM, POS, or whatnot, other API banking, everywhere you will find there is a gap. And if you see, if you have to mitigate this gap of a trust, so blockchain comes and creates that level of a trust. Like what Sudhin was talking about, those LCBG process typically happens at a branch level, right? There are a lot of gaps in that process. Similarly, you will find while I am giving a loan, gold loan, right? The whole process, it requires a lot of trust. Or you talk about KYC, which has a lot of gaps, right? The same KYC is being asked by every bank, right? Can we not create a one single KYC and acts as a decentralized KYC for all the regulated entities? Likewise, if you see, there are many more processes in trade finance. While sending money from one to any of your beneficiaries outside of India, like so-called as a cross-border payment, it has a lot of operational processes. Wherever you see more than two stakeholders, man in between, that whole process can be automated with the help of a blockchain. So I think the example like Nero Modi's, right? Or example like some of the frauds being happened because man was in between. So all those can be wiped out with the help of a blockchain kind of a technology, right? So that way, you see every business model, retail, trade, corporate, lending, you will see in current banking, a lot of manual interventions are there. So you can really go with those operational and trust aspect with the blockchain as a box kind of a layer. Yeah.
So as we are talking about frauds, we are talking about how banks can avoid these frauds. But my next question is to Sudhin sir is, how will blockchain help the microfinance sector? So according to a recent CII report, the entire microfinance lending sector is roughly around 4.85 trillion INR. So how do you see this, the entire opportunity for the microfinance sector, and how banks or the microfinance, NBFCs or, so-called the other microfinance lenders can benefit from this opportunity if they adopt blockchain?
Well, that's a great question. I would like to say that in India, we have this incredible financial system, right? People who don't have the money don't get the money. Right, and people who have the money get even more money, and some of them don't even return the money. Some of them are absconding. Right, so we got to fix this. Right, we got to fix this because this is fundamentally, post-COVID, very important. Because not only for emerging markets like India, but we have also seen in Western developed markets. Right, we have seen that even they are talking about universal basic income, just as here we have our financial inclusion schemes. So I think this blockchain can be used very effectively. In fact, I would like to state on record that the Jan Dhan accounts, financial inclusion accounts, we have got now more than 500 million accounts. Right. State Bank alone must be having more than 100 million accounts.
The biggest account holder is SBI.
Yeah, State Bank of India must be having more than 100 million. And the best part of this is that the entire balances of these accounts now are 1.5 lakh crore rupees. It's a huge success. This is probably the most successful financial inclusion, digital-based, jam-based, Jandan system in the world, the most successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Lovely. Yeah.
Now we got to make sure that all these accounts can be linked, and that layer of trust can be built between the different incentives, schemes, insurance, so that the transmission of money, and especially when people need it, right? In this COVID time, I mean, the migrant labor, all these people, I mean, they were literally on the ropes, right? They needed the money. I mean, you can't live without money. You can't do anything. There's no work.
Correct.
Right. So blockchain will help in linking up all these various. So now we have this massive system of record, right? We've got this 500 million record across all banks, State Bank of India, DCB, ICICI, just name it, HDFC, whoever it is, right? Now with this system of record, we got to now, with blockchain, link it to the system of engagement. What is the system of engagement? The governments, the central government, the state governments, the local authorities have a lot of schemes, but a lot of it does not reach the last mile connectivity, is sometimes missing. Can blockchain help in that? Can blockchain link up all these different accounts specific to that scheme or incentive or specific to that region?
Yes.
And with that linkage, we'll also get a full compliance report as to whether the people actually got the money or not. So this is a fantastic way of doing the financial inclusion 2.0, or what I can call Jandan 2.0. And just to talk about the cost factor. So in 2017, some of the banks, some of the public sector banks made a representation to Parliament. I don't know why they made that representation, but they made a representation to Parliament saying that the operating cost of the Jandan accounts is prohibitive and very expensive, right? But now when you are armed with these technologies like blockchain, which can reduce that cost, as well as provide far better trust and regulatory framework around these massive system of records, you can now expect the blockchain now to really help these people by automating the connection with all these different schemes, and it will be completely automated. You don't have to call up 100 consultants, or you don't have to call up SBI or DCB Bank. It should be seamless. It should be contactless. This is a fantastic a financial inclusion 2.0 transformation going forward.
Prasanna, very quickly, if you want to comment on this, what Sudhin sir has given a fantastic overview of what Jandan account means and the type of money, which the Jandan has generated in the bank accounts. So, Avresh, we are talking about the opportunity in the microfinance segment, wherein the ticket size is not over 35,000. If you can just take us through the opportunity for banks in this space, or for that matter, the microfinance sector lenders.
Yeah, I think very well narrated by Sudhin. So on top of that, I just want to say that there are 70 plus microfinance companies in India, right, operated by regulator. And what they are providing primarily, how they can give the lending support to the farmers or those villagers who are looking for a better lending kind of a ecosystem. So what happens, Manoj, in this whole process, the whole process again is full of some kind of a fraud does happen. Say example, one of the beneficiaries going for a loan against one property, he has an opportunity to go for a similar or a different kind of a loans to another microfinance company. So while these microfinance companies are not on the same chain, or say are not on the same proof of a network. So what happens? Some of those bank goes, or some of those microfinance companies undergo some NPA, right? We can do away with that kind of a fraud while we are providing a financial inclusion to the end users. But there are other areas where we have to really safeguard the financial ecosystem, where blockchain can come and create a chain of all these microfinance companies banked together, where we will trace and track every transaction done by the end user and against what property. So I think that will bring another layer of a trust. While we are taking care of customers' financial inclusion, we have to always take care of how the finance can go to the better and a robust ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, with this successful implementation of blockchain into present scenario, and there are other in the pipeline, I think one of the next thing that we need to focus on is how the regulatory system in India will work in implementing the blockchain, like how the blockchain implementation will happen through these regulatories, whether this is SEBI or other regulatory of India.
Yeah, so blockchain can be merged with emerging space called RegTech or regulatory tech. Now, this RegTech doesn't mean that it's only for the regulators or authorities, right? RegTech is also very important for the banks, for microfinance companies, for NBFCs, for financial services companies, for insurance companies. Why? Because the cost of compliance, the cost of reporting is very high today. True. I can tell you from my previous experience, I've been in SBI, I've been in Barclays, I've been in IBM, and I've been in GE. I can tell you that long back, GE had to jettison its financial services business because the cost of compliance was too high. It's just incredibly too high. So, here the blockchain can not only, when merged with the RegTech, will not only bring better governance, risk, and compliance, but will also, get in the different, will also connect to the entire ecosystem.
True.
Right? So today, banks are on in one space, then you have the microfinance companies, then you have the fintech companies, then you have the aggregator companies, then you have the insurance companies, then you have the government schemes and incentives. So all this entire ecosystem needs to be properly put in proper order. And then blockchain can do the orchestration. It's very simple, just like cloud, right? Why did we start using cloud, and why is cloud today the most successful hype technology today? The entire world is using cloud, right? Okay. The same way, because it does the data orchestration seamlessly. It's all automated. So once you get blockchain and tie it up with these various ecosystem components, participants, then it just becomes the perfect weapon of innovation for a digital, seamless, and contactless world.
So, Prasanna, the question which Parvati had, highlighted and, asked Sudhin sir was, can SEBI and other regulators implement blockchain technology and how it will benefit them? There are a lot of companies, that are listed in the listed space. So, roughly around 5,500 odd companies. And there are a lot of frauds that are happening in the financial sector as well. So, if you can just take us through.
Yeah, I think if you look at how regulation is working since over so many years in India, and in the last 6 years, so many regulations came in our wave. If you've seen after 2014, we have seen OTP kind of a regulation, followed by there are a lot of guidelines and new systems are coming in our wave. UPI, NFS, at SEBI also they are bringing a lot of systems. You talk about insurance, they are also bringing a lot of guidelines. So all of these regulations, guidelines are based upon Web 2.0, the way we have created our ecosystems on mobile apps and on the internet banking app. Now, when blockchain comes and we transform our applications slowly onto the Web 3.0, automatically regulations will have a more power to enhance those regulations. What I mean to say that, say example, recently RBI has announced digital payment security controls. And if you look at those lists of regulations, how do we safeguard mobile apps? How do we safeguard internet banking app? How operations should be done for ATM reconciliation, right? All of these are depend upon current Web 2.0. So when blockchain-based systems will come, automatically, instead of having 100 regulations, our regulations will go down, will be like 10, 15 and so on. That's the power of bringing blockchain kind of technologies, right? So instead of having more controls for current ecosystem, controls will be lesser, controls will be future-proof with the blockchain and other tech like AI, ML. So it's not only blockchain, but it has to work cohesively with the other technologies also, Manoj. Yeah. So RBI is working on it, SEBI is working on it. Say example, today there are a lot of controls around payment ecosystem. Tomorrow CBDC comes, your controls will be reduced. And blockchain itself will be, if it is implemented with the help of a blockchain, automatically there will be less controls out there.
So I have a follow-up question on this to Sudhin sir. So we are talking about banks, we are talking about frauds, and now we are talking about SEBI. So there was an incident that happened in the financial sector in 2018-19 of ILNFS. that actually rattled the entire financial system. So we are talking about loans worth 1 lakh crore that has gone bad. Immediately the system was shook, and there were a lot of repercussions, and as we have seen. So how will the regulator, identify such issues? And is there any other example like INFS if you want to highlight for our viewers, sir? If you can just explain this process.
So regulation in today's world has to become universal regulation or universal RegTech, right? So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. So the regulation is not just for the RBI or SEBI, right? The regulation now is beyond that. For example, can we link the MCA data, right, which holds all the company data, right? You mentioned about the 5,500 listed companies. Then we have the GST data. Then we have the bank data. Then we have the credit bureau data. Then we have the RBI data. Then we have the SEBI data itself, right? I mean, SEBI is sitting on, a whole lot of data. I mean, today the stock markets are, not only become big, but today the stock markets have become the lifeline of economies, right? Exactly. I mean, you have to, have to make sure that those stock markets are not only well regulated, but they're the new money, because, debt on debt is collapsing and equity on equity is expanding all over the world. Only entrepreneurs and enterprises can save the world, nobody else, right? So I think if we can connect, if we can make these private blockchains with all the participants,
perfect,
put in all the respective rules, and then at any given time, we must have that data with the various ecosystem regulators and authorities, right? So, and this could be massive. Right. It could also be not only the SEBI and RBI or the MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It could also be the state governments, the central government data, right? The data from local authorities, the data from economic development authorities, right? There's massive amount of data which needs to be put in order. As I said, has to be put in a system of record, and then that system of record, you can keep adding the blockchain trust as a service when you engage with the different participants. What happens is then you get a universal kind of a regulatory framework and a base, which becomes much easier for everyone in that ecosystem to coordinate and take action whenever they need to take
Fantastic,
action,
sir.
Right? So, whether the markets are going up or whether the markets are going down, we still need that order.
Right.
We also need to know what exactly needs to be done. It's not just that SEBI needs to intervene. The entire ecosystem needs to intervene.
Correct.
So Prasanna, a very quick comment on how, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Sudhin is speaking about, and the way we have created a lot of regulations in the financial ecosystem, and I think all these regulators didn't come in our life on a day one, right, or on a date. Every regulator has its own journey, right? RBI or SEBI or IRDA, or there are many more other CeFis and so on. What Sudhin is talking about, this is what we have created, right? This is what we have created based upon how we have done the industry evolution in a banking or a finance sector. Tomorrow, we have an opportunity to create a unilateral regulator which talks to all of them and create a better data integrity, common pool of data, common network, where end user who is buying insurance, who is asking for a loan from other regulator, who is buying MF or some of those shares with some other regulator, I think he has to get benefit out of it, right? So blockchain has that power to create a chain among all the regulators and create a better enhanced regulation, which will do away with a lot of, I think rather than it will ease out the end user's life.
Sure. Sudhin sir, very quick reaction on two sectors before we move to our rapid fire segment. So if you can just highlight how blockchain can transform these two sectors. I'm talking about the insurance and what role it will play if it is implemented, for law, legal issues. And there are a lot of cases, that are piled up in the system. If you can just explain this, sir.
So definitely, I was just seeing the news, and on it was the fact that some of the health insurance companies are kind of delaying the opening of new policies unless there is a 3-month check on the vaccination or I haven't seen the rules. I mean, that is a shocker. I mean, we got to help the consumers, right? Any insurance company, whether it's a life insurance or a general insurance, must fulfill its obligation.
But sir, on the health, on the health insurance or the entire insurance space is bleeding, sir. So they are making losses from last 1.5 to 2 years, and they are supporting all those individuals. So what is your view? How the implementation will help them, to identify such frauds, or if there is any other broader concern in the sector, sir?
So typically we have come out with these massive, health insurance schemes. I think they need to be again rewired, again configured, so that the insurance companies can also fulfill their obligation, as well as whatever form filled by the consumer has that level of trust, right? It should make sure that that level of trust is not misplaced, or wrong data has not been filled up by that person who wants to buy that policy. Correct. Right? So it has to work both ways. I think this again requires a lot of technologies like blockchain to make sure that that smart contract is programmable.
Perfect.
So, for example, during the COVID time,
right?
There was a moratorium because of the pressure from the Supreme Court and from the RBI.
Exactly.
There was a pressure on the banks to give a moratorium to the home loan or personal loan or whatever loans, because the people could not simply pay the EMIs, right? Because there was no livelihood. So if that is programmable, wherein instead of me having to go to a branch or doing it digitally, the programmable smart contract, be it for loan or be it for insurance, should immediately give a notification or alert or alarm because of the changes in the policy, or because of the changes in the regulations, or because of the environmental changes, or because of the impact of such large complex events like COVID. So I think that if that feedback loop, as well as the feedback to the government saying that, if insurance companies are bleeding, then the government has also to step in and just try to ensure that, the entire ecosystem can survive.
Yeah, so I think today we see different types of insurances, right? General insurance, life insurance, and so on. In India, penetration is quite low, maybe because of awareness and so on. But typically, this insurance tomorrow will become a dynamic insurance, right? Based upon your health, based upon your whatever diseases you have, automatically insurance company will keep a track of your level of insurance. Similarly, if you talk about a vehicle insurance and so on, how you are driving, what is your pattern of driving, based upon that, your insurance level will go up and down, right? And that can happen if you really bring on micro transactions, starting from your health records, starting from your the vehicle patterns and the relevant data. And that will happen if you have a blockchain kind of technology to support those micro transactions. I think that's a different way which is coming in, Manoj. While we are talking about today's monolithic process or manual process to give those insurance to the end users, there also a lot of operational processes are there. So, say example, a vehicle which is got damaged or got an accident, it takes 7 to 15 days to do overall whole claim of the insurance. So tomorrow, vehicle itself will give a signal that this much is my damage, please do the payout to this particular Aadhaar ID map to this particular account. And provided all these stakeholders are on the same chain. So that kind of ecosystem.
But वो Tesla हो, गाड़ी Tesla होगी या इंडिया में भी चलेगी वो system? प्रसन्ना?
No. I think I think just to just like you have automated cars, autonomic cars, which coming in. Yeah, there have been a few crashes, but I think that's going to come in. I think blockchain can be easily used for all these autonomic worlds. I think even banks are going to go autonomic. I think even insurance companies are going to go autonomic. There's going to be no need for any intervention.
Correct.
It should be on the fly. It should be completely programmable, and it should be both the insurance company and the consumer must get the benefit.
So Sudhin sir and Prasanna, very quick take how blockchain can change the way our legal and law system is working as of now.
Yeah, if you take the example of Estonia, where the law is transferred on the blockchain, right, or e-law or blockchain-based law. So it's like today the whole process and the legal documents and the way the judgment happens, it's all manual, right? And sometimes it happens based upon the past records, and there are some record theft does happen, right? Say example, marriage laws or and all those relevant laws and relevant documents, how they have been kept and secured into the storage system. It takes 7 days, sometimes more than 1 month to take out those documents and do the next date, right? I think we will do away with the paper, right? This is what I said initially. What database is done for the paper, blockchain will do it for databases, right? So I think that's how we look at it. It will be completely transparent judgment whole process. The new lawyers will be able to understand what has happened in this particular case immediately, right? And it's a complete ecosystem change for a legal ecosystem. So what does I mean to say that lawyers have to also learn blockchain kind of a technology so that they should understand if any dispute happens in any of the ecosystem which is based upon a blockchain, right? They should be able to say, yeah, the way today lawyers are understanding cybersecurity, web-based system just to support their ongoing cases. Similarly, they also have to understand these new skills, understand and reskill themselves on the blockchain. I think there is always a movement. Whenever internet came, it has changed or given a lot of skills to the existing ecosystem. Blockchain will come and ask lawyers, not only lawyers, CAs, auditors to learn so that they are ready for next wave which is coming. How do they can do audit, how do they can make judgment, how they assess a particular system and come up with some kind of a single source of truth.
So this brings us to the end of the session. So my last question to all, to both of you is, we'll have a rapid fire session, wherein I will ask or give a top trend of 2022 and so on. You can explain agar wo successful rahega ya initiative successful nahi rahega. So Sudhin sir, my first question to you is the top blockchain trend for 2022, green blockchain initiatives. What's your view on that?
Very successful, especially in the space of ESG, which is shaping up the world. Extremely successful and very much required.
Prasanna, your quick view on that.
Yeah, I think that's the need of a time, right? So what we have done earlier and what we need as a part of a 17 sustainable goals.
Any examples?
I think if you see today in India, apart from fintech company, like organic farming, you talk about agri-tech,
Sure. So next question is to Sudhin sir, blockchain and IoT integration. How will this venture be successful in 2022?
Oh, superb. I mean, if we can get this blockchain smart contract integrated with these electric vehicle charging stations, that's fantastic. A smart contract can be generated, the payment can be made, and it can just, the entire process of just take about 10 to 15 seconds. So that will be a fantastic way of how to solve this, charging, which is already, I've seen the charging points which are already automated. Now, if we add the smart contract to it, it'll be fantastic. Both the payments as well as the transaction can be completely online and it can be settled in about 10, 15 seconds.
Prasanna, green initiative, happy initiative. What's your view? Quickly.
Yeah, it's a happy
green initiative.
Yeah, so you were talking about IoT initiative, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think certainly not in 2022, but 2022 followed by 2023 when we have a 5G kind of a technology in our life.
Correct.
So tomorrow's customers will be devices, rather not only humans but also devices or combination, right? Your smart car will go do the transaction. Your smart houses will pay off the electricity bill. So successful.
And another rapid fire we can take for NFT going beyond online art. So what's your take on that?
So I think NFT plus DeFi plus Metaverse is the future of the internet.
Great.
Yeah.
So Sudhin, your quick view on that.
No, it's a massive space. I mean, the folks like Sotheby's and all are already into it. And if this continues at this pace, because everything is going to go digital, assets are going to be digital. There is a very big market for musicians and artists to now look at this space and to monetize this space, right? So it's a very, very big space, and the chances of monetization are immense.
Wonderful. So this brings an end to this discussion about blockchain and how this initiative will transform the banking sector and the microfinance sector. Sudhin sir, thank you so much for participating and giving your insight on this sector. Prasanna Lohar, thank you so much as usual for participating in this panel discussion.
So this was a lovely discussion. Especially I enjoyed the rapid fire by Manoj because I've done an individual story on 2022 trends of blockchain, and this gave me another perspective of how experts are thinking about it. This was really good and I have thoroughly enjoyed. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed, and with this I'm signing off for now. I hope you keep watching Crypto TV, keep watching our channel, keep watching our stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much.